All right, welcome in. This is the 100th episode of the Hill Pursuit podcast. It feels like it's been for forever because it kind of has been. So we're gonna take a little stroll down memory lane, I guess, for lack of a better term, and just chat about the show a little bit. We're going to talk about the history today. Today's kind of a two-part episode. We're going to talk about the history of the podcast and kind of this celebration of getting to triple digits, the 100th episode. But in addition to the history of the podcast, we're also going to dive into a very raw post Pittsburgh marathon recap. This was about a week ago at this point. I got into the car after the Pittsburgh Marathon and I did a car cast on the way home. It's close to, 25, 30 minutes long. That'll be the second part of today's show. It doesn't get any more raw than, 1 hour post marathon, really diving into the specifics of what did and did not, I'll say, spoiler, what largely did not go super well for me in that race, which of course I am okay with. Not every single race can be a PR. So you'll see a little bit of the Pittsburgh Marathon recap. But again, the first part of today's show, we'll dive into some specifics and history of the Hill Pursuit podcast itself, why I'm doing it, some good, some silly, some statistics, some other stuff, I guess. And then, of course, one of the most important parts I've kind of been discussing in recent episodes, there is a special coaching incentive that I'm rolling out, kind of just in celebration of hitting triple digits. So if you listen through the first half of the show, you'll hear the details related to that coaching incentive. And it's probably going to be a little bit different for everybody in terms of the potential behind that incentive, because some of you I coach, some of you I don't coach, some of you are brand new, some of you might be referring somebody else, whatever. So just make sure you listen to the details, and of course, just reach out to me with any questions after hearing about this incentive if you're interested in it. All that being said, I really, really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate all of the support, the following along the story. There have been race previews, race recaps. There have been, some guests on the show. Not really a whole lot, but I guess Coach Ken in terms of nutrition and his journey with Ironman, and of course, it started with me and Mitch forever ago. We'll dive into that, but throughout the entire journey, I just genuinely want to express that I really appreciate all of you for following along and listening. Of course, don't forget we have social media. It's just at Hill Pursuit, wherever you social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn as well. Find us on everything. And if you have any questions from today, or if you hear about the incentive and want to reach out, please reach out to me. You can DM me on any of those platforms. You can also just email me directly at hillpursuit@gmail.com. The website also has a contact page, hillpursuit.com. You can get access to this episode, all other podcast episodes, coaching information, nutrition information, any and everything. Okay. So reach out to me wherever. All right. You can listen to this show wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Google, Apple, wherever else you're listening. So again, like, subscribe. And then of course, after today, if you have a question or you want to pursue some coaching, please reach out to me. And again, I can't overemphasize. I truly appreciate all the support. So without further ado, this is a two-part episode today. The first part, a brief dive into the history of the Hill Pursuit podcast. The second part of the show, an in-depth, raw Pittsburgh Marathon recap. Thanks for listening. Enjoy today's show. Okay, here we are. This is the first part of a two-part episode, the 100th episode. Triple digits, for the Hill Pursuit podcast. In this first part of the show, I'm kind of going to dive into, I did a little dive into the history of the show. Some of it's fun, some of it's kind of cool, but just want to share a little bit about the history of the show, why I started it, where it started, and kind of where it is now, and the whole purpose of the show. So in addition to a brief dive into the history and a look back at the Hill Pursuit podcast, there will be a celebratory coaching incentive that is discussed. And again, if you're an athlete that I currently coach, this will apply to you differently than it will apply to a brand new athlete. So I just want to stress, if you have any questions, just of course, reach out to me. If you're interested in any capacity, please don't hesitate. Reach out to me, hillpursuit@gmail.com. But let's dive into this first part of the show. So again, this is a look back at the show. A very raw Pittsburgh Marathon car cast will be included in part 2 of this episode. So stick around if you want to hear that. I literally finished the marathon, got a shower, hopped in my car less than an hour post-marathon, and I started a car cast about all the things that did not go super, super well in that race. But I still enjoyed it to some degree. But anyway, that was about a week ago. So stick around for the second part of the episode if that interests you as well. Let's dive in. So this Hill Pursuit podcast, I had been discussing this podcast and coaching with a good friend of mine, Mitch, from forever ago, right? I know if you've been listening for a while. Our first episode of the Hill Pursuit podcast was December 31st, 2020. So about 4.5 years ago. So, let's do the math. Let's call it 4 years. It's a little more than that, right? But roughly 20 to 25 episodes per year since that time, which is not the end of the world. I think that's pretty decent. Not quite every other week. And of course, we had frequency that was significantly greater than every other week at some points, and some that was a little bit longer. It's just kind of the way that life happens. But yeah, the first episode, December 31st, 2020. And I vividly remember this. I was sitting in a plastic lawn chair in my parents' house on New Year's Eve on a Zoom with Mitch, because we talked about it for over a year at that point and just never did anything. We were like, you know what? 2021, we got the turn of the new year is coming. We need to do this. Like, this is a good time to try and get this rolling, and also at the same time try to help people who might be looking for help right around the time of the new year, right? Because we all know that the New Year's resolutions exist. They're very real, whether or not you yourself agree with having New Year's resolutions or not. But that's the nature of the time frame of why we started. And I would say quickly, because we kind of did rush it at that point, but it had been in discussion for forever. We knew nothing about how to run a podcast. I literally just recorded a Zoom and then uploaded it within the Podbean app. Newsflash, that's still what I'm doing today. Isn't that crazy? This doesn't have to be super difficult or super fancy. I literally record a Zoom call and upload the audio to the Podbean podcasting app, and I'm still doing it 4+ years later, which I love that about this show, if I'm being completely honest. It's even taken a recent turn to as simple as a voice memo in the car. If you've been listening to recent episodes, I've had some car casts. I have no problem with that. I love doing car casts. It's super simple. It doesn't get any easier than that. Just record a voice memo, send it to yourself in an email, boom, upload it to Podbean. So in terms of the complexity of the show, it's not really evolved a whole lot. But again, the purpose of the show kind of falls in line as well. The purpose of the show was just to reach people who need help. Reach people who need help with strength and conditioning, with endurance sport, maybe even something like some sports psychology, like health coach type of help or assistance or oversight or coaching that someone might need, we wanted to start, providing those services. And we felt that having a podcast, and I still firmly believe this to this day, is a good way to kind of reach people. It's a very informal conversation, whether I'm here by myself, whether I have Mitch on with me, which still happens, but very rarely at this point, just due to his job. But or if I have someone like Ken Rogers, Coach Ken Rogers on, the nutrition coach on the hillpursuit.com website, or if I'm just by myself, right? The whole purpose of the show is unchanged, right? It's very similar to our technological advances as well, right? But what's happened from this podcast is quite a bit, to be honest. I've been asked to be on a few other podcasts myself as as like a small guest. Um, First and foremost, or the most popular and most appreciative that I've been asked to be on is the Victory Multisport podcast. So friends of the show, family, I would consider some of them to be family. I'm a coach for the Victory Multisport team as well, in addition to coaching for, of course, Hill Pursuit, which I run and operate. And what's really kind of unique about the Hill Pursuit podcast is it's gained a little bit of traction in the world of strength and conditioning, which is fun. Not quite as much in terms of endurance sport, but again, that's growing as well. And again, there's not really a specific aim of the show. It's really just to help people be healthy. And, most of the show is me sharing my good and my bad experiences. And, I participate in endurance sports. So, of late, that's where the show has kind of gravitated towards. But at the same time, this is a conversation for all athletes or any human who's just trying to be a better human or be a better version of yourself. So at the same time as, this is largely related to my personal experiences, either as a coach or an athlete in endurance sport, some of these lessons and nuggets of information hopefully are applying to a little bit of everyone, to be honest. And that's kind of, I guess, the next step in terms of the discussion of the history. My favorite episodes, I don't have any titles necessarily, but my favorite episodes by far are the episodes where I discuss a lesson learned from you, from the athletes, whether you're my athlete or just another athlete that I train with or have discussions with or anything. I love those episodes where it's oh, that led to a really deep conversation. I need to bring this up, or that really hit home, and that I learned a lot from this mistake, or a friend of mine made this mistake. I need to discuss this and share this with people. Those are my favorite episodes by far. I also really enjoy the race episodes, like the previews and the recaps. Those are a lot of fun as well. But I guess I don't really have any favorites specifically. And because I didn't look up any specific favorites, but I do know that I like the episodes that are derived from lessons learned from you, whether you're pointing me in a direction or helping me, or the opposite. And I love those episodes. And I remember vividly, I had one of these with an athlete, just in terms of dad life and how we're managing training and being a dad or a father. And of course, this applies to being a mom and training as well. But that was one of my most favorite episodes I called on. That was a discussion I had with an athlete of mine and good friend, Nick Eder. So shout out to you, Nick. That was a really cool, it wasn't even one single conversation. That's the thing. We just talk enough, and we're both dads, that it was you know what? Some of these little nuggets here need to be shared with the world, because I'm gaining a lot from this and leaning on Nick. And, I imagine that we support each other in that sense. So those are my favorite episodes by far. Let's dive into some statistics of the show. Maybe this is good, maybe it's not good, but it is what it is, and I don't really care. So I'm going to share it with you. So 100 episodes, we have nearly, very close, 4,000 downloads all time, which is kind of cool. I don't know if that's a lot. I don't know if it's a little. I would guess that it's a little, but at the same time, that's the number it is, and that's fine. I don't really care what it is. I'm glad that 4,000, not 4,000 people, but I'm glad that 4,000 episodes have been downloaded out of the 100 that I have. That's fantastic. According to the software that I use, there are 1,500 different listeners of the show, which is kind of cool. Um, where are those people located? So I'm in Western PA. So naturally, I have, the community that I train in, and the community I coach in, and the community that I teach in and do research in. I imagine that's where most of the listeners are coming from, because we have 20% of the listeners of the show are from Pennsylvania. 15% is the second highest, and that's California. That's pretty cool. And then we have three states that are tied. Virginia, Ohio, and Delaware are all at 10% in terms of the total volume of listeners. I thought this was kind of cool. There are three states that have only one active listener. So that's North Dakota, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. So I've got the marketing team actively trying to boost our audience in those three states. And if you hear me say that and think I'm being truthful, then you don't know me. I promise I am kidding. There is no marketing team. I am the marketing team. And that, I just thought that was a fun little stat. So one person in each of those states. That's pretty cool. In terms of the platforms, Spotify and Apple are super popular, right? So Spotify is 26%, Apple is 20%. That's kind of cool. I saw something else that was kind of funny, but also maybe not funny. Brazil, China, Russia, and Italy have like oddly high download numbers. And what immediately crossed my mind was I had like some credit card identity theft recently, and hopefully the podcast is not the source of the Russians getting my credit card information, but clearly that might be the case. So thanks to Brazil, China, Russia, and Italy for the high downloads. And when I say thank you, that comes with an asterisk, but that is what it is. Um, all these little statistics are like kind of cool, right? They're kind of fun to talk about, but at the same time, the show itself is here just to make an impact. That's it, just to make an impact. It's fine if it's one person. It's fine if it's 1,500 different listeners. It's fine if it's two people or nobody at all. This is the show is here to, again, share the experience, share the good, share the bad, and hopefully make a positive impact in somebody else's life. It might be in terms of training. It might be in terms of being a parent. It might be in terms of being a spouse. Some of these lessons learned that I share on my own behalf apply to everything, right? This isn't just about being an athlete. It's not just about waking up early and training at 5 a.m. It's not just about good splits in a marathon, right? But of course, there are times for those kinds of conversations as well, which you'll see in the second half of this episode today. But a large part of this is really just to help people. And I hope if you know me, you probably know that I'm very truthful in that. If you don't know me well, I promise you from the bottom of my heart that that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this so I can just help people, whatever it is. If you grab a nugget here or there, that's fantastic. I love that. If this just encourages you to, get off the couch and, go run a mile or jog a mile, that's awesome. Because that's going to turn into something else. That's going to lead to a healthy decision somewhere else in your life as well. So, I think, what's also really cool about the timing of the show having started at the last day of the year of 2020 is that I feel like I've grown a lot myself in terms of the community that I'm involved in as an athlete and a coach. And again, I've grown as a person, of course, but this podcast primarily discusses specifics related to athlete performance, coaching, all of that stuff. I started coaching with Hill Pursuit completely for free. So this is a little piece of advice for any coaches who are listening. Like, there's no easy way to start this. I was like making Excel document programs and just giving them away to like the first 10 people who responded to like a social media post. I was just giving them away for like 6 to 9 months, doing the same exact thing I'm doing now, but just trying to gain a community that I could influence, that I could help, that I could support, doing all of this for free at the same time, just getting experience as a coach. It's pretty wild to think back. Like, I still have some of those Excel programs, which is wild. I was giving them to friends. I was giving them to family. I made some social media posts and it was like, hey, first 5 people or first 10 people, I would coach for free for months. It was wild. Um, so in terms of the growth of Hill Pursuit, like that's where it started. No, like I didn't have insurance. I wasn't LLC'd. The social media like barely even had started. It started with Microsoft Excel giving programs away to any and everybody who wanted them. Couch to 5K, Spartan race, body weight workouts at home, any and everything. It was crazy. So I finally took the leap. I don't remember exactly when I did this, but of course I could find it. But I LLC'd Hill Pursuit. Of course, I got insurance. I found a platform, started this show, and started to reach out to people, expand the network. And again, the overall purpose of this was really just to, make an impact and try to help people help themselves, and in the expansion in terms of social media and in terms of this show and in terms of the LLC and the formal coaching business. It just became exactly what I wanted it to be. And it's not too crazy big. It's not small. It's absolutely perfect. And the community that I have now in terms of Hill Pursuit, also Victory Multisport, it's fantastic. I'm loving every single minute of it. I love the relationships I have with all of my athletes, my other coaches, other community coaches, not just Hill Pursuit and Victory Multisport, but whenever whenever I'm involved in the strength and conditioning world, I always share this experience and this job that I have and this company that I've started. And I use it as a way to network with other coaches, and the conversations I have are just great. It's just another way to expand my knowledge, expand my experience, and again, like just shed some light on what I'm doing and what I did to get here, all that stuff. So I absolutely love the community that it is. I hope it stays this way for forever. And just know that my intention is that it does. So I really, I'm all in on what this is and the way that it's structured. I absolutely love it. So, I guess on that note, I'll just discuss this coaching incentive that is coming out, active upon release of this episode, the 100th episode, triple digits. In terms of that coaching incentive, there are specifics. The incentive for a brand new athlete is coaching, one-on-one coaching for $100 a month. That's the 100th episode. That's the incentive. If you're a current athlete, that's really simple. It's just making the referral for a new athlete, and you get the exact same incentive as the new athlete, right? So it's really just a push. It's not like I'm even making anything on that. $100 credit if you're a current athlete and you make the referral. That could be for Hill Pursuit gear. That could be for a coaching service, towards a coaching service to yourself, any and everything. But if you do have specific questions about how that could apply to you, make sure you reach out to me, because I do have, I have specific Hill Pursuit athletes. Then I have some that are specific Victory Multisport athletes. Then I have some that are both. And then I have some that I coach just strength and conditioning, some that I coach just endurance coaching. So there are different ways that this can apply to any and all of you that are already in the community. But again, if you are looking to expand the community or you're a new athlete, reach out, please. This is not something I can just do unlimited as well. So this is going to kind of be a first come, first serve to the first handful of athletes. I'll kind of cut that off whenever I feel that it's too much for me, because again, I'm only one person. I'm not going to take on, 20 new athletes. That's definitely not the case. But $100 a month for any new athletes, or $100 credit for any current athlete who makes the referral. So let's expand the network. Let's help other people help themselves. The goal here is to really just celebrate where we've come from. I say we because this is the community. This is the Hill Pursuit community. This is the Hill Pursuit / Victory Multisport community. Okay. This is everyone that is involved in this circle that I'm also involved in. We're celebrating where we've come from, where we're going, and we're helping others enter this crazy awesome world of endurance sport, this crazy awesome world of supplementing with strength and conditioning, okay, or any and everything in between. All right. So please, please, please reach out to me ASAP. And I can't stress enough ASAP for more specifics related to the coaching incentive as it relates specifically to you, because you likely are not in the same boat as any other athlete. There's a few that are, but as other athletes that I do coach, because again, there's a blend of HP and victory, or one of these and one of the other, or both of these, right? So just make sure you reach out and figure out how this $100 for the 100th episode can apply to you. All right. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up the history of the show, the coaching incentive. And I just want to talk briefly that there might be, this podcast is not changing in purpose at all, but there might be a slight change or new direction with the show. I want to start answering your questions. If you have a question, I want, or like if there's something that leaves you wanting more, or like you finish a race and you're like, I just can't figure this part out. I can't figure it out. Something that bugs you when you're training. Think of it like a mystery that you have yet to solve, right? Or it could just very simply be a question related to general health and fitness, whatever. I want to start having episodes that are like, what would you call it? Like a listener question or a listener Q&A episode. And it could just be one question. It could be maybe you have a handful, or maybe there's three people who all have questions under the same umbrella of the topic, whatever it is. I want you to reach out, text me, or of course, just email me, hillpursuit@gmail.com with questions that you want answered. That will serve as a listener topic of future listener Q&A, whatever topics for future podcast episodes. So please don't hesitate. I know we have questions. I have questions, right? That's where I got these 100 episodes, because I have questions. I have experiences too. So I know you have questions. Ask me a question. There's an episode. Okay. That'll be a lot of fun. And I'll give you a shout. I'll give you a shout for that as well. Also, I really want to have a speaker series. Nothing crazy here, right? It might be friends. It might be athletes. It might be other coaches. Whatever it is. But I'm going to start having or hosting a speaker series. Maybe it's my athlete. Maybe it's not my athlete. Maybe it's some other athlete. Maybe it's another coach, whoever. But I'm going to have people on the show to help us all get different perspectives, to grow as professionals, to hear experiences. And again, I love the idea of being a constant learner for the rest of my life. That's why I have the job that I have. I'm a college professor of exercise science, because I love to learn. Science changes all the time. I love conducting research. I love reading research. And then that's also ironically the same reason I have that job, is I love helping people help themselves and help others. So, I'm preparing future exercise science professionals to do good in the world, right? To help people be healthy. And that's why I like to coach as well. So I love the idea of being a constant learner, a forever student. So I want that to be incorporated into our speaker series. So if you're interested in making an appearance as a speaker, not that this is going to be every single episode, it's probably going to be every handful of episodes, but don't hesitate to reach out. This will be very informally structured, nothing structured. If you've listened to any episode of mine, this is very informal. Nothing is super structured at all, but it's something that I definitely want to do and incorporate into the show in some capacity. So if you want to be included as a speaker or any interest at all, let me know. The podcast is going to remain the same. The purpose is going to remain the same. The idea is to, learn, inspire, get knowledge, educate, share experiences, and ultimately just grow together as this awesome, incredible community. All right. This was only the first part of this episode. The second part, you'll laugh at it. I promise you will. The second part is very raw. It is less than 1 hour post Pittsburgh Marathon, which was 1 week ago. So you're going to get my very raw emotions. I wasn't too thrilled, to be honest, but I got some good insight from having a not so great race. So there's a little spoiler, but I definitely encourage you to listen to the second part of this episode. But if you don't, whatever, that's fine. Reach out to me via social media. All of it's at Hill Pursuit. DM me if you're interested in the coaching incentive. Email me at hillpursuit@gmail.com if you're interested in the coaching incentive, if you're interested in asking a question for a future episode, or if you're interested in being a speaker on the upcoming speaker series. That would be fantastic. I would love that. Then ultimately, there's also the contact page on the website, hillpursuit.com. Check it all out. Like, subscribe, do all the things. I don't need to say anymore. You guys know the drill at this point. This has been 99 episodes plus this one. We're at 100 now. So you've heard this now 100 different times, right? And if you haven't, go back and listen. Spotify, Podbean, Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are, wherever you get your podcasts, like, share. Appreciate that all in advance. And then I guess the last thing I have is just another thank you, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, for all of the support over the last 4+ years. I hope that we have another 4+, maybe another 10+, maybe another 200 episodes. Who knows? Who knows where it could go? But again, thank you for all the support. Keep training hard, and enjoy the second part of this episode, which is the Pittsburgh Marathon recap. That sucked. I wish I had a better explanation of that race, but holy crap, that sucked so bad. I just finished Pittsburgh Marathon. I hobbled back to my hotel quickly and got a quick shower, and then I had to get on the road so I can get home, see the family. But yeah, that sucked so bad. I don't even know what my official time was. My watch was like low 4:30s or something overall. Yeah, I did not perform how I thought I was going to perform. Yeah, so I guess let's dive in. This is like as raw as it can be for the 100th episode of the HP podcast, but yeah, I finished the marathon like an hour-ish ago, something like that, and car casting it up. Not feeling super great, but not feeling great physically, not feeling great about how I raced, but let's dive in, I guess, right? So 4:30 and change, and I was expecting sub 4 and hoping for 3:50, so way off the mark. I'll say this first and foremost. My fitness was not where I thought it was. I'll say that. Number one. That's number one. I overestimated how fit I am right now. And, that is what it is. That's not an ego thing. I just, based on my metrics from recent training, I thought I was capable of faster. And I'm not saying I couldn't have raced faster than 4:30. We'll dive into it. But I definitely was not, even on my best day, I can tell my best day would not have been even a 4-hour marathon today. The fitness was not there. So to make things a tad bit worse, sleep wasn't the best last night. I woke up to pee a couple times, of course, because I'm hydrating, and I just could not go back down. So, nerves. I don't know why. It's not like I'm some expert or super experienced marathoner, but I still get the nerves. So, is what it is. And I kind of chalk that up to, well, that's pretty much how all my other races go. So my expectations are unchanged based on sleep. So, but that's number one. Number two, I ate really well this morning. I had a breakfast sandwich, nothing different than I normally do. Breakfast sandwich, electrolytes, some carb sups, a bagel, all the normal things I do for endurance races, Ironman triathlons, and marathons. So nothing out of the ordinary there. We get to the start line, and it feels beautiful out. The sky is completely blue. Literally at 7 a.m. It was awesome. So we're like super excited. My buddy, I started the race with my buddy, Weston. He was running the half, and his plan was to run like low eights. So I told him straight up, I was like, look, I made this mistake. He knew this before. I made this mistake before. I'm not coming out low eights. Sorry, man. If you want to go, just go. Excuse me. But I came out like 840s, 845s, which was my plan. I wanted to run a couple miles below my like 855 strategy. My goal was to ultimately like arrive at mile 20 at around between 850 and 9-minute overall pace. So I was going to pull back on the hills and then arrive at mile 20 around a 855, 9 pace. So I built a little equity in like the first 2 or 3 miles. I was averaging like 845s. No harm done. That was the game plan. It didn't feel too crazy. But here's the thing that I was not ready for, and I'll be completely honest. I think it threw everybody. It was very, very humid. It had rained all day yesterday in Pittsburgh, in the city of Yinzer, and it was muggy. It was humid. You didn't really feel it at the start. You felt it, at least for me. I felt it around like the mile 4. I'm literally at mile 4. I have 22 and change left, drenched in sweat, drenched, and it's crossing my mind. I'm like, I've not had a run like this all year long. I've not had a run like this. I've not been that sweaty that quickly all season, all this entire training block. It was crazy. So like it crossed my mind that like this was a problem. So I began running quickly. Like I don't think I did much wrong, to be honest. I just didn't have it today, but some other things happened also. I started running off of solely like my perceived exertion, RPE. And that meant I was slowing down, and I didn't care. I didn't care that I was slowing down. I was like, I put up a couple like 9s, 9.0s, 9.10s, 9.15, somewhere in that range. I'd come back down to a 9. Like I was holding a decent pace for about like, I'm trying to remember, like 10 to 12, 13 miles of this thing. I felt like I needed a little bit of a kick or a boost. I always carry caffeine with me in the form of a drink. So I drank like 2 sips of it around 12 or 13. This was a mistake, and I think there's more to elaborate on with this. But I've not experienced. I told Weston this when we were debriefing after the race. I've not experienced the GI issues that I had today, literally, ever before in a race, ever. At mile 14, not to be graphic, I'm not going to be, but I had to poop so bad. I was like so uncomfortable around like 13, 14. And then like, again, I'm not going to get graphic, but you kind of like try to wait to see if it goes away. And then it goes away for 10 minutes. It goes away for 15 minutes. And it comes back and you're like, oh man, this is close to an emergency, which of course is not good. And my stomach was just like rumbling. So eventually I had to stop. I literally was like, all right, maybe if I stop and pee, because I had to pee, it'll like relieve some pressure down there. And, it didn't. So I kept running, and then it came back. And somewhere in the late teens, I had to take a dump ski. And it was very uncomfortable. I've not experienced the GI issues like that ever in a race before. And honestly, it didn't even really go away. Like, my stomach was just not having it today. And I'm not sure why, to be honest. I didn't do a whole lot different, like morning of or even day before. I did almost the exact same stuff that I normally do, the exact same stuff I'm drinking. So, I don't really know. I do have one guess, and I'm not going to say this is it because, again,
I don't know for sure, but I do have a guess that maybe I had too much salt, too many electrolytes. I'm not sure. And that messes my stomach perhaps. But I was so sweaty and it was so muggy and humid for the first 90 minutes of this race. I kind of felt the need to take in salt. And I didn't do anything different than I normally do for endurance racing like marathon or triathlon. I took in a bunch of salt. I didn't do it, again, nothing different. I took between 250 and 500 milligrams an hour. Now, I know that's a wide range, but I did. So I have salt tabs that are 250 milligrams of sodium. Every hour I popped one, and then the second hour I popped two, and then later I popped another two. I didn't even average 500 an hour in terms of milligrams of sodium. So I'm not really sure if that's it, but that paired with maybe too much electrolyte drink, perhaps. I mean, again, I don't know, and I'm not going to say that's the cause of the GI stuff. It could have easily been something I ate, or, chalk it up to just not the best day. I don't know. But I did not have the best day in terms of my GI distress. That is for sure. To make things worse, I hadn't really publicized this because, and it's not an excuse, it's part of training. But I spoke with, I told my wife about it a few times. I've been working on it for a couple weeks, but my left soleus was a little tight and tender a couple weeks back. It's been fine for 2 weeks, if I'm being completely honest. There's been no issues. But it started locking up and cramping a little bit, and then it creeped up into my left hamstring. I literally had no dorsiflexion in my left ankle. I was trying to stretch it out, and I literally couldn't. It was rock hard, my left calf. My hamstring wasn't terrible, but it was bad enough that I was hobbling a little bit. And I do remember episode 99, when I was doing the preview, I said, "Oh, there will be no walking." Well, I was walking. I had to. I didn't have a choice. I was trying to work this thing out, and I just could not work it out. So, the day did not go as planned, and that's fine. I don't think you can expect to PR every single race that you race, and I think at least in that sense, I was realistic. In the preview episode, I did say my goal. Of course, my goal is going to be to PR, but I did have a secondary goal, and that was not to PR. That was to go sub 4. Again, looking at the day and based on how I felt, even if I was 100%, I don't think my fitness was there to even go sub 4 without the calf cramping, without the GI issue, whatever. But, I think you have to have these days sometimes. And it's, looking back at the race, right? This is the acute moment of looking back at the race. It's not like I'm looking back a month from now, but it sucked. But now that it's over, I'm kind of glad that I went through it. You can't have great races all the time, and I tell that to my athletes too. If one of my athletes was planning to go sub 4 and they run 4:30, they're not going to be happy. And I'm not ecstatic that I had this experience, but I am glad to have these types of experiences. Of course, you want everything to go well, but I think this is a huge learning moment, and I don't, if I can shed some light on this and somebody can, gain some knowledge or absorb some of this information, I think you should. You can't expect to always have your best day. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong in your prep or your lead up. It just means maybe you just had a bad day, and I clearly influenced some of these issues, right? The GI stuff. It's nobody's fault for the GI issues but mine. Just like I tell any of my athletes, if you want to fuel the right way and feel good on race day, you got to practice it. You can't improvise this stuff. So today's high humidity at the start of this race, I felt like I had to, maybe overdo the salt intake. And again, I'm not linking causality to that, to the salt itself. I'm just saying it's possible that that's what happened, or that it's possible that contributed to the GI distress. But that's nobody's fault but mine. It's not like oh, my training block prepared me for GI distress. That it just happens sometimes. So that it happened today, and like I said, I've never experienced it to the point where I had to stop during a race to poop ever. So today was a first, but it's fine. And the cramping, I've experienced cramping before. Actually, I cramped even worse in a marathon. I finished in like 5:40 once. I was very out of shape, and I was cramping on a really hot day. And so that was a horrible experience, but I did cramp today, and it caused me to walk more than I wanted to, and that was, of course, unplanned and, likely my own fault. I was thinking or anticipating a higher level of fitness. The fitness level paired with the humidity, paired with the salt intake, it all contributes to the cramping. It doesn't just happen out of nowhere. So that's, again, my fault. My choices, the choices that I made led to that. So, again, these are learning moments. And I think the biggest learning moment for a race experience like today is you can't always PR your races. You can't. And if you get upset when you don't PR, I mean, you're setting yourself up to fail even more. I mean, this sport, it's a hard sport. Endurance, any type of endurance sport, it's difficult. It's not easy. There's a lot of different variables that can go wrong, and I had a few of them today, and it was all my own doing. But you have to have the bad experiences so that you can learn from them and become better. And it's like an endless pursuit. This doesn't just happen, all of a sudden next to my race I'm gonna crush a marathon. I do have another marathon on the calendar this year. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe it won't. Hopefully it is, right? But you have to take the good experiences. But if you want the good experiences, you also have to be willing to live with, and deal with the bad experiences. And today was not a good one. It was not a good one. The silver lining for me is I love to race. I love. I think it's a lot of fun. And, I had fun today, even though I was I had some bad experiences or bad elements in this race. I still had a ton of fun. I like doing this stuff, so I don't have to be perfect at it. I'd much rather, I was literally thinking about this because I heard something similar to this. I was thinking about this as my day was unfolding. I was thinking to myself, I would rather be mediocre at endurance sport than elite at sitting on the couch. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Like, as I continue to do these things over the years, because I'm not going to stop because I love it. It's a lot of fun. I love not just the racing. The Pittsburgh Marathon is one of my favorite races, so I absolutely do love that race. But I don't just love the racing. I love the process too. But do I expect to literally continue to get better for every season for the rest of my life? No, I don't. I have 3 young kids that are all under 5 years old, and I'm having another baby in 2 weeks. No, I do not expect to get better every time I toe the start line. I certainly do not. And I don't need to either, because that's not necessarily what I'm chasing. Would I like to? Sure. Would I, do I train intelligently enough, or at least with the intent to continue to grow and get better? Absolutely. But these bad experiences happen. And you have to be okay with it. You can't only want to PR and get upset when you don't. Like, I'm not upset. I know that realistically, my fitness, I knew it pretty early. My fitness was not where I thought it was to go sub 4 today. It just wasn't. And for some people, that might be a hard pill to swallow. For me, it's not. There's ebbs and flows to this stuff. You might experience runner's high one day, and then the next time you go out, you feel heavy, you feel lethargic, you feel like you don't want to train, whatever. you're just not going to have, man, I'm on the soapbox right now. You're not going to have a great day every time you toe the start line. It's just not possible. It's not. So that's just, I know I'm long-winded, but I still enjoyed myself. I still had fun. I dealt with a little bit of adversity that was my own doing. Clearly, there's nobody else. It was my own doing in terms of my fuel. It was my own doing in terms of my prep, my lead up, but also my own expectation and what I thought my fitness level was. I was wrong. I was not right about where my level of fitness is right now to run a sub-4 marathon. I was wrong, which is fine. Like, I'm able to admit that I was wrong in terms of my own fitness. And again, like, I hold myself to, a pretty high standard. So when I'm making these assumptions about myself, I do take it with a grain of salt, because I am intuitive enough to know that I do that. But and I'm actually somewhat proud that I recognized it early enough today, and I tried to calibrate. And like I said, I started running off of my perceived effort, and that meant slowing down, and I did not let it bother me. And then I continued with that until the cramping started, and until I had some serious GI issue. And it is what it is. I did my best on today. I literally did my best on today in the race today. So my best today was 4:30 and change, and that is what it is. I'm not upset about it at all. It's another marathon finish in Pittsburgh, which is a hard marathon, under my belt. So I'm thrilled about that. That was my 8th full marathon. I have another one on the calendar this year I'd really like to do. And then next year will be I'm going to do Pittsburgh again. Again, I love this race, and you learn a little bit every time you do it. And this was one of my worst Pittsburgh finishes, which is fine. Again, does not bother me. I don't need to PR every time, but I'm excited that next year's Pittsburgh will be my 10th full marathon, which I think is really cool. Marathons aren't easy. A lot of people are kind of like one and done, or they do them very infrequently. I like the Pittsburgh Marathon. It's a nice way, and for me, it's a nice way to kind of start the triathlon season as well. I put together a decent run block. It clearly was not the best run block, but now I'm going to transition predominantly into triathlon and half Ironman prep. And I'm excited about that. And I'm going to carry this run fitness that I have into that training block, and hopefully have a great Ironman season. I have 2 half irons on deck, and the run fitness is an important element. And just because I ran a 4:30 doesn't mean I'm running a 2:15 half marathon as part of the half Ironman. You better believe that I'm going to carry some run fitness and approach these races intelligently and do my best to go sub 2. I think I've only gone sub 2 in a half iron half marathon like twice. I wish I had that in front of me. I don't, because I'm in the car, but I'd love to go sub 2 on these half marathons during or within the 70.3s. So that's a big goal of mine. I'd love for that to happen, and I'm going to keep pushing. Again, my life's about to change again. I'm about to have 4 kids, all under 5 years, all 5 and under, not under 5, but all 5 and under. So training, is what it is, but I'm going to have fun this season. I can tell you that much. And both of the races I have on deck are pretty simple for me to do with family, because I have family help for both of the weekends. It's just going to be a matter of how much can I train? How much can I actually train? And, do I need to put in a true half Ironman block, or can I kind of cut it a little bit, maybe 70% or 60% of a traditional half iron block, and still have fun this season and have some good finishes. And that's my goal, is to have fun and enjoy myself out there and, get after it, because I like the challenge. I like to feel a little pain from time to time, right? No injury, and thank God I don't have an injury, but I like to push myself. I know if you're listening to this, it's probably because you like to push yourself too. So when you get in those moments that it hurts, you get in the moments where you realize, or you got 10 miles left of a marathon and you realize you're not going to hit your goal and you're not going to hit your B goal, suck it up and deal with it and keep moving forward. What else are you going to do? You're not going to quit unless you break an ankle or something. And even then, like, you can still walk. So, there's levels to this stuff. And you start the race. You're not going to quit the race unless some sort of emergency happens. So, yeah, you deal with the pain. You enjoy the suffering a little bit. You learn from it. You move on. So, and I know if you're listening that you feel the same way. So, I appreciate you guys following along. This was the 100th episode of the Hill Pursuit podcast. I genuinely hope you take advantage. If you're listening to this, I genuinely hope you take advantage of the coaching incentive that was offered at the very start of this episode. Please do. Email me at hillpursuit@gmail.com. Let's talk about it, okay? If you're interested, please reach out and contact me. You can also just contact me on any of the socials at Hill Pursuit, Facebook, Instagram, X. We got a LinkedIn as well. So find me somewhere. Reach out. If this interests you, this coaching incentive, please don't hesitate. Take advantage of it. There's a lot to be learned from working with a coach. And, I'm happy to share all of my experiences in hopes that you get even just one tiny little nugget of info to help you become a better athlete. So thank you for listening. This is the 100th episode. We're going to keep it rolling for another 100, maybe another 1,000. You never know. But thank you all for listening. Have a very blessed day. We'll see you next time.